Okay.
I'm Gloria Ishida, and as Lauren said, I'm standing for the member at large, the advisory committee for Northern Kanto, and didn't ask you before, Lauren, where the dividing line is, but we'll assume that I know, or we'll learn. I think that I can say that I've been a Democrat longer than any of you, and you can see why. But even when I was in grade school, they say 6th grade, and all through high school, I was really interested in government and politics. My father somehow turned from Democrat to be Republican, but my grandfather was a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat. On the other side, my grandmother voted Democrat and my grandfather voted Republican. But anyhow, when I got into college, I really got involved, and I was in an officer in the Democrats on campus. And when I first voted, it was when we could still only be 21, we had to be 21 years old. So that was my first time. And that time I was in college, and I went as an observer to the Democratic Convention in Chicago. So and it was really, really, really exciting for me. Since then, I've lived in the United States, in Japan. I came to Japan 55 years ago, but have not lived here 55 years. And I've lived in Switzerland for almost 14 years. And at that time, there was, I don't know if the Democrats abroad was actually organized at that time, a long, long time ago. I think it was kind of...
It's been 40 years. It's been 40 years.
40 years?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but anyhow, okay, that's good. But I do want to say this, that when I went to a couple of meetings, I felt that it was very exclusive and in Switzerland. And so I didn't get really involved because I just felt that we were nobody. So I think that that's important, especially now, as I said in my statement, the communication and networking. And that's where I see as a role, as a backup for the officers to be able to do that. Some of you have said, well, you said as secretary, you did that, and that's the secretary's role. But we would be backup for that, the whole committee. And I think with the bylaws too, I think I mentioned this to Lauren, that the bylaws are kind of vague on our positions, but I think that whoever it becomes the board will work that out well, and I will do my best to support that. I don't always get to meetings. I think Lauren put my name in is because she wanted to push me a little bit. And I thought I was going to be more active when I moved from Aichi, but my husband was ill for a while and we were getting settled in and everything like that. And I don't mind going out at night, but nah, I don't want to come home at midnight. But no, I will be as active as possible in this role. I was very active in Aichi, well, for the Tokai area, and we did become a chapter, and Lauren knows that history. We worked hard. We had a good core group, but maybe the same thing happened in Kansai. It wasn't at that time that it happened to us. People moved away, moved out of the country, moved out of the area, and so it kind of fell apart. But we worked hard, and I was the chair, and I think that we did a good job at that time. So, thank you. I hope to be serving with the new board. And that's it, unless you have questions. Yes?
I have 2 questions. The first one is, you have, there are 2 people running for 2 positions, right? So
Yeah,
they're not really
unopposed.
running, they're not.
No, we're not running. We're standing.
The second question is, what exactly does the member level do?
So, I don't think Gloria made a point of saying that we didn't give her enough description on that. This is the first time we've had this position, and we wanted to kind of we left it as open as possible in the bylaws so that it can be fleshed out in real life. And in our current bylaws, we made a recommendation when we finished the bylaw amendment that this is bylaws to be reviewed within the next 2-year cycle. So some of these things like chapter guidelines and the actual job description for the members at large is kind of going to be written by the committee as they go along, because this is the first time. So the vague thing that it says is that they are going to sit on advisory council meetings, and that they can represent the voice of and get in touch with Democrats within different regions of Japan that have not been represented at this time. So hopefully we'll give them some mechanisms to get out and get in touch with those people, and then they can bring those voices back to the table. That's the hope.
And
But
can I add to that as well? Like, as a member of the committee that helped to write the bylaws, like, one of the reasons that this came up was because over the years, people have complained or at least mentioned that everything always happens in Tokyo. And we wanted to try to address that because, yeah, most of the foreigners who live in Japan are here, but there are plenty of people who live outside of Tokyo as well. And this way, with this advisory group, like, they can make individual contact with other people who we just never really have a chance to get in contact with. And they can, you know, have house meetings so that people feel like they can get involved, you know, more directly with what's happening in Tokyo.
Right now, I'm living in Saitama, and it is not real far, but I was kidding. It almost took me as long to get here from Irumashi, which is a line directly into Ikibuku, than it used to take me to come from Nagoya, but cheaper. But, that's one of the things I think I wrote in my candidate statement of my background in various positions I've held. I didn't mention I was on the school committee, which is not PTA. In Switzerland International, I was the chair of for the International School of Geneva. In the United States, I was chair or president of the Metropolitan Chicago Synod, Women of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, and that was a pretty big organization. And also, as I mentioned, in Nagoya, I've been president twice of the Association of Foreign Wives of Japanese, and that is a good place because we have about 450 members. The Americans are very much in almost the majority, I would say. So I had that connection. So in all of those positions, there's been a lot of networking and communication involved, and I think I have those skills to serve as member at large.
And just to jump in briefly on our side, I recruited both Terrence and Gloria. The position was open to anyone across Japan who wanted to run, but I specifically bullied the two of them because they have a lot of experience and because I wanted some early people in that role who could help flush out what that role could be in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they'll set a good standard.
I'll be glad to do that.
Emeritus.
Yes.
You're gonna hate me.
Yes.
But I just want to say, with my experience with Gloria, is she is relentless. And it is really important when you're so far removed from the national committee to be relentless and to be gentle and to just get people to do what needs to be done. That doesn't always, it's not always enough.
Yep.
But I think she has, I will say, I think she definitely has the qualities needed to try to gather all the loose geese and hens that should be voting with the Democrats.
That reminds me, well, I don't know if being relentless reminds me, but one more thing is that I consider myself very much a liberal, but I think that we have to be very cautious not to antagonize other Democrats who may not be liberal like some of us, but that they are Democrats. I think that's very important in our communications.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Great.
you.